Okay, here we are. Welcome everyone. Today is September 10th. I'm delivering your lecture. As you can see here, the elements of personal essay. What's your story? So, as you know, your first essay within this class, English 252, is the personal essay. This essay, as you can see here, is about you, about your story. The topic of the personal essay can literally be on anything, just as long as it was something that occurred or happened to you. So, for example, if you were to write a personal essay on, say, an influential relative, like a grandmother, it would not be enough. And I want to underscore that. It would not be enough just to write about her personality, the way she conducted herself, the things she likes, dislikes. The personal essay asks that you instead structure the essay around how your grandmother influenced you, always bringing it back to you, how she affected your life and experiences. It cannot be just about her. Okay, on that note, please avoid writing a personal essay about your grandmother. All right, that was a poor example, but I just wanted to give a quick example of how we need to structure the essay through you. If it's a compelling story focused through the lens that is your reality, then okay, maybe you can write a personal essay about your grandmother. Don't worry just yet about your personal essay topic. Start thinking about it, but we will have take a look at some examples and even an essay towards the end of this lecture. Uh, a couple notes too. This is September 10th. This is the fall semester in 2020. I redid the first part of this lecture, so it's present for this class. But um, some of the parts of this lecture are going to reference a class I had in the summer in June. So disregard any due dates that are June based. So I'm just recycling this lecture from a prior class. Also, I'll review at the end of this, but start thinking about the idea of when we're going to have to post our rough drafts, our personal essay rough drafts to Blackboard, and that due date is coming up. Let's see, September 17th, right? We have to, if you look at the course outline, we have to post our personal essay rough drafts. And I review this at the very end of this lecture on the last slide. Well, for me, it's a slide. For you, it's a YouTube video on what the expectations of that are going to be. But just know your final draft of every essay this semester, save the last essay, will be 3 to 5 pages long, double spaced, Times New Roman font, 12-point font, 1-inch margins, no cover page, um, and follow all MLA formatting style this semester. And we covered MLA formatting style earlier. Looks like it was last lecture, so we should be up to par with that. All right, let's look at elements of poetry, or sorry, elements of essay, personal essay. Okay, so for the next, like, say, 4 or 5 slides, we're going to talk about the elements of personal essay, but also we're going to start here with the elements of any essay, how any essay looks, how it's structured. For some of you, this is going to be a review. For others, it's going to be introducing new concepts to you with regard to elements of any essay. So any essay is going to have an introduction with a hook that distills down to a thesis statement. So you begin with a hook after your title, of course, and we're going to look at some examples of hooks, what they entail. The thesis statement may not apply to the personal essay. In fact, I would say it probably isn't. At no time in the personal essay are you going to say, within this essay, I'm going to talk about how one time I went on a boating trip and we ended up stranded on an island. Uh, so you're never really going to say that. It's going to be more like a story. The personal essay is really going to adhere to how you read a story. It's going to have a beginning, a middle, and end, and have a takeaway or a lesson, but we'll get to that in a moment. Uh, but definitely you're going to have body paragraphs with a topic sentence, maybe. It might not apply to the personal essay either, but you are going to have a beginning, an introduction, body paragraphs, and a conclusion within your personal essay. As you can see here, you can see the basic structure of the personal essay is what we call an inverted pyramid with regard to the introduction. So the inverted pyramid, just think about a pyramid that's upside down. And it starts very general. That's with the hook, right? The base of the inverted pyramid, so it's very general or large, and it distills down to a point, at the end of the pyramid, inverted pyramid shape. And the point would be your thesis statement. Again, you're not going to have a thesis statement within your personal essay. It's simply going to be a story about yourself. But within following essays within this semester, such as the expository, such as the argumentative, and the final research essay, you are going to have a thesis statement, the introductory paragraph that distills down to that point that you want to make within the essay, right? You can see the basic structure here: introduction, you orientate the reader, identify the focus of the or purpose of the paper, outline the scope, so how large is the topic of your essay, state the thesis statement. Then you have topic sentence number, name of the body of the essay. Topic sentence number one, your supporting details, and your concluding sentence one, and so on and so forth until you get to the conclusion where you restate the thesis and summarize your argument, or in the case of the expository essay, that which you are informing the reader on. All right, so just put this in the back of your mind when we get to past the personal essay onto the expository, that this is the basic structure, and I'll remind you later on and give you some examples of this. Okay, as we said, even the personal essay is going to have a hook, most likely. I would love for you to integrate a hook at the very beginning of your essay, right after the title of your essay. Those are types of hooks: posing an interesting question, a strong statement, a fact or statistic, a metaphor or simile that compares your topic to something different, an anecdote, like a small story to begin your story, right? Uh, a description and or a relevant quotation. Those seem to be the most common ones. And you can see some of the examples on the right-hand side. Number one, so the interesting question hook. Ask a question that relates to your essay or paper. Make sure it's a question where the audience needs to read the essay to get the answer, right? So if you pose a question, the hook poses the question, the rest of the essay attempts to answer that question. It dedicates itself to that act. Let's look at like one more. Let's see. Number five, story hook. Begin your essay with a short story or episode that connects you to your writing topic. Make sure you can use this type of hook for that writing assignment. Yeah, so if you use a story hook, make sure the story hook has everything to do with what the essay is going to be about. Um, and it's really what's called an anecdote hook, what they're calling a story hook here. So yeah, so peruse these at your leisure and see if which one you want to try to integrate into your hook of your personal essay. All right, so now we're going to look at actually the elements of personal essay. These things that I want you to integrate into your essay for your personal essay. You don't have to necessarily use all of them, right? But I would certainly want you to use a couple. I'll tell you the ones that are optional when we get to them. So the personal essay has everything to do with telling stories from your past. So we're going to stick to one story: the good, the bad, and the ugly. You know, you pick the topic. It's up to you. Or if you need to ask me, you know, I'm having trouble. I've on sort of narrowing down my topic. I have sort of these three ideas I'm kicking around. Can you help me sort of expand on those? Yes, I can. You could email me, or you can, when we post them into Blackboard to give commentary on them, individuals could say, well, you look like you're going in an okay direction, but you might want to tweak your personal essay by going in this direction. Explore that. That seems more interesting, they might say. Or I might say the same thing within Blackboard when I comment on your rough draft that you have to turn in tomorrow. So tell a story from your past. Don't be afraid that it's either a good story, a bad story, an ugly story. I've heard a plethora of topics that were sad, which is really cathartic. It's almost like therapy for these individuals that read their stories when it's sad. But some are celebrating as well. The one we look at today is a very personal one about a situation that happened to a student in her past. Very good essay with regard to personal essay. And and I think there's some good parts in it and there's some bad parts in it. So I think this individual that wrote the essay, it's a woman, she balances out those two things, but they don't have to necessarily be balanced out. You choose the topic. You choose how you want to frame it. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? Is it going to be ugly? Just make sure it's from your past. So and because it's from your past, the verbs of your essay are going to be in the past tense. So then it's also going to be in the first person point of view. I, we, us, our, ours, me, mine, and you might use third person as well. He, she, they, them, it is, her. Certainly you would use both of those. So you're going to be telling and showing. So we talk about in creative writing, and this really is sort of a venture into the realm of creative writing, this personal essay. We talk about balancing telling and showing. You show and you tell. You have to tell, but we don't strictly want you to tell within the essay, right? We want you to give us some images by showing, and you use metaphor and simile. And those coupled together equal imagery. We want imagery, what we call imagery within the creative writing world, within the essay. And this is going to be abundantly clear once we get to the essay sample that the individual wrote later on at the end of this PowerPoint. So Tolkien language, we're going to look at examples of that. I'll parse that from the text. So it's not enough just to say, we want to really challenge the language within our essays, all essays moving forward, but especially this personal essay. So if you were to say you were talking about you were running, I was running down the street, or I ran down the street, right? So torquing the language there, torquing the verb instead of ran, you might say I dashed down the street. And you might say, well, that's not good enough. And this all takes place within the revision process when you go back to revise, right? You might say, well, what about, dash is a stronger verb than run, yes, but how about I darted? I darted down the street, right? See how the language is stronger? We torqued it, we twisted it till we got the best result, the strongest verb. So think about that. Also, you might integrate dialogue. You don't have to. It's a personal essay. It's a story from your past. There's characters within your personal essay because these are people from your past. These people talk. So you might want to integrate some dialogue so we can hear them talking. It really brings us to the present of an event that happened in the past when we use dialogue, because we can hear those individuals and start to understand their personality through characterization, through their dialogue. How do they talk, right? Their speech pattern allows us to understand their character. What's called characterization. Avoid cliche statements or images. So avoid things that are old sounding, comparisons that are just hackneyed or what we call trite or old or cliche. I was as happy as a clam. That would be a cliche simile, right? So you would try to come up with something that challenges that statement. So think about it was raining cats and dogs, right? That's a very cliche statement. It's old, it's hackneyed. It's been used so many times. So one might rearrange that in such a way and recast that image in such a way that it's evocative and interesting, right? So instead of it's raining cats and dogs, you could say it's raining canines and felines, right? It's building on the same old one, but it's new and fresh. It's bringing something new to the table. So like any story, uh, your personal essay as a story about your past, something that happened to you in the past, good, bad, or ugly, it's going to have rising action with conflict. You're going to reach a climax of that conflict, and that's going to lead to falling action or a resolution. And we're going to see a perfect example today in the essay we're going to look at. At the end of your essay, just like I want you to integrate a hook at the beginning of your essay, your personal essay, I want you to integrate a life lesson. You know, these various things happened to me, or this one thing happened to me, right? This rising action, this conflict, this resolution, and this is what I learned from it. There was this moral takeaway, an epiphany, a moment of clarity. Those all are sort of synonymous things that I mentioned in the very last bullet point here. The life lesson. All right, also, in order to create fresh writing, you might want to think about to try to take what would otherwise be an abstraction. And when you think of abstraction, just think of any emotion or idea that can mean a different thing from one individual to the next, and tempering it with something that's a concrete. Usually the image. All images are typically concrete. We all can look at an image and pretty much derive the same meaning from it. But when you use words from emotion, it's hard to understand exactly because it's so subjective. So for instance, we use the word love. Love means something different to everybody, right? So the example I gave here, we were in love. It's straightforward but abstract statement that doesn't convey much, right? Because love, we don't know what love is, right? We can use an image to show what love is, you know. So to revise it, I'm going to try to incorporate an image to make it more clear. We loved each other so much, it was as if we were squeezing all the blood and being out of our hearts. Okay, so it's a little, we can derive a little more meaning out of that. We're getting the actual action of squeezing. We could see blood, you know, we could see something being squeezed. And of course, we know what a heart is, what it stands for, the symbol, how symbolic heart is of love, right? Uh, in this day and age. So just think about taking abstractions and then tempering it with an image to make it more concrete so we understand what's going on. And it's more evocative type of writing too. This is especially important for your personal essay, not necessarily when we get to later essays, but definitely for the personal essay, you'd want to do these things. All right, I covered this in the first lecture I gave today. Maybe you're doing them in different order, I don't know. But the first lecture I uploaded today, you're supposed to listen to, and you have time to listen to that one. This personal essay lecture you have to listen to before tomorrow, right? But the other one you can wait till this weekend to listen to. It's long. I think it's like 38 minutes long. And what it really, the MLA formatting lecture that I gave that I'm talking about, it really just distills down to these concepts within your paper. So top left, your name, enter. My name, enter. Hitting enter right on your keyboard. English 252, hit enter. The date is in a very specific format, the day, month, year format, as you can see here, 2 June 2020, no parentheses. That's just me putting it to the side so you know it's not what it looks like. On the top right hand side, we're going to see an example of all this later on in this lecture. Your last name followed by a space and a page number. So it will look like last name. So if your last name's Jones, Jones space page 1. And then page 2 will have Jones space page 2 on the top right hand corner. Make sure the page numbers they build, and it just doesn't say page 1 on every page, right? Center the title of your essay, no bold or underline or italicize or quotation mark around your essay's title. Make sure you do a title of your essay too that has meaning, not just throw anything in there. Be methodical about what you title your essay, your personal essay. Now, I would say that moving forward for any of your essays, make the title have something to do with the content or the story of your essay. In this case, story for the personal essay. Hit enter after the title and then start introductory paragraph. Note each paragraph begins with an indentation. Every paragraph you have to indent, right? So each essay is 3 to 5 pages long and everything is double spaced in Times New Roman font, 12-point font, okay? Okay, choosing a good topic for your personal essay. Some of these that I'm listing here, these are just some that I made up, some I pulled off the internet. You can find plenty of websites that offer personal essay or narrative essay examples, topic examples. Some of these are great, and we'll point out the good ones. Some of these are horrible. Most of them, I guess, are okay. Your bravest moment, right? That could be any incident that happened to you in the past. And we're going to see sort of this individual who wrote this essay example we're about to look at, uh, where she did write about a brave moment, sure, a vulnerable moment in her life, a definitive moment in their life that changed them forever. There you go. How you met your best friend. I guess that's okay. What makes your mom or dad special? Again, that's mediocre, but it can't just be that, as we mentioned before with the grandmother scenario on the first slide of this PowerPoint. It can't just be how your mom and dad is special, how your grandmother is special, right? What they like and dislike, what they look like, describing them, right? It's got, or give them dialogue so we can hear their voice on the paper. It's not just that. It has to be how you can press your experience with your grandmother through the lens that is you. So how it affected you, how her life made you a great person, how your mom and dad influenced you in your life. I would say avoid those type of relationships, or sorry, those type of essays with regard to relationships, unless it is a compelling story. Then I would say go ahead, do it. How you overcame a fear, that's fine. I think that essay we're looking at today kind of speaks towards that. Why you will succeed, that doesn't seem like a good personal essay because it hasn't happened yet. Why you will, that's future tense. It needs to be past tense, right, within these personal essays. Why you made a difficult choice. That could be anything from a very heavy topic, to a very, and I would say the heavier the better with regard to the topic, and I'll let your imagination, sort of run with that. A special place, that could be, that could be okay, I guess. A place you try to avoid. When a friend let you down, an event that changed your life, that seems to be a common thread within these personal essays, the ones I've read, and there's been lots of them, a ton of them. An event that changed your life, and you're definitely, and that's the epiphany at the end of the essay, right? That life lesson, that moral takeaway, and you're going to see one in the essay we're going to look at today. Um, a special encounter with the animal. Uh, Someone wrote an essay one time about when they were camping and they experienced a bear. Their family was in a tent and it starts what everybody fears when they're camping at night, an animal scraping at the outside of your tent, right? It was pretty good. A time when you felt out of place, an old experience that didn't make sense at the time, that could be okay. Words of wisdom that hit home and changed your way of thinking, okay. A person you did not like, I would try to avoid that. It's kind of like the opposite of the person you do like your mom and dad and your grandmother. A time when you disappointed someone, your fondest memory. Okay, so some of these are good, some of these are bad. You choose your topic. Reach out to me if you feel confused or you don't feel as if you can sort of brainstorm enough to come up with a topic. I would just implore you to sit down and think about, brainstorm something that was influential on you, a person, a place, a thing, something that influenced you, that helped you grow, that you can really talk about the moral takeaway at the end of the essay. Email me if you have any questions, though. Okay, personal essay example. My apologies. I did a whole screen recording where I was able to go through this whole essay. It's a 7-page essay from a student. A really good essay. It's a beautiful essay, actually. And this individual incorporated a lot of the elements of poetry, dialogue, sound, um, uh, visual things such as simile and metaphor, imagery of all sorts. It was very well written. There was a beginning, a middle, and an end. I'm going to email everybody this. It took me 20 minutes to record it. This was the technical difficulty I had today. 20 minutes to record, to go through the whole essay, and do an audio and a video of me going through the essay. And then after it was done, it didn't record the sound. Just did the just the visual, the video of it. So I deleted it and just put up a screenshot of this. And I'm going to email everybody the attachment that is this essay, and you can go through it at your leisure. But let me point out a couple things just with regard to her technique and the way she wrote the story and some of the MLA things that she's doing really correctly on this first page. So with regard to the way she told the story, she did it in a simple way. She started at the beginning. In the story, she's going on a trip with her then boyfriend. They're in a city environment. They decide to go to the country on a trip to a cabin of a friend of her boyfriend, Toby, as you can see here in the second paragraph. And disaster happens. They go out hunting for clams on this in this area near the water. The ocean moves or the tide moves in, and then they're trapped and they're stranded on this island at dark. They have no idea when the tide's going to go out. Just when we think things are going to get worse, they don't. They are discovered by an old man in a boat. He picks them up. He speaks French, doesn't speak English. They can't communicate with him, but he knows that they're in trouble. Uh, they make it to shore, and she figures out that this is the moral takeaway that I spoke about, right? In the elements of poetry. Sorry, elements of personal essay. The idea that I want your essay to end with a moral takeaway, right? And she does that well. She realizes that this guy's an idiot. He got them in this situation, this predicament, and she doesn't want to have him in her future. Is her moral takeaway. They should learn. This is what she learned from the situation. So I'll email it to everybody. Please take a close look at it, at least at the beginning where we get the hook, right? We spoke about hooks and how effective they can be. Of all the times I could have died, that one was my favorite. Wow, what does that even mean? That one, it must be something horrible that happened to you, but you made it out of it. So it's a great hook. It really it compels the reader to read on. With regard to MLA, you can see in the top left-hand corner, we get the student's name, full name. That's perfect. My name, great. The class, perfect. English 252. And then the date in this format. The day in numeric form. The month spelled out for us. June is going to be completely spelled out. And then the year, the full year for us would be 2020, of course. Then they hit enter once, and then we get the title, centered title of their essay, which has nothing done to it. It's not italicized, it's not underlined, it's not emboldened, it's not quotation marked. It's just the plain title of their essay. And then on the top right-hand corner, you get the student's last name and then the page number. Make sure it's a space between the two. Let me know if you guys have any difficulty or questions on how to embed your last name and the page number so it advances on each page with the number. Okay, so I'll email you guys this essay. You can take a look at it at your leisure. I think it's a great example. Once you read it, you're going to realize, wow, this is like a novel. It's well written, like for a professional writer. A couple notes on that. Don't hold yourself to the same example. Try the best as you can, obviously, with the personal essay when you craft it. But it's really hard to write the way this individual wrote. She was a non-traditional student, so she was older. She was an avid reader, so she knew how to apply the various elements of creative writing to her essay. And by the way, it would have taken her many instances to polish it to this level of how good this is with regard to all the elements of personal essay that she incorporated, and flawlessly even. Dialogue she uses well. If you read it, you're going to see both real dialogue with a quotation mark of hearing Toby talk and hearing her talk, and you're going to see italicized dialogue without quotation marks, which is when she was just having internal dialogue, just talking or thinking to herself in her own head. Okay, so take a look at it and see if you can get some inspiration from it. Okay, questions. As always, please email me if you have any questions or concerns or need to clarify anything that we've spoken about or that's listed on the course outline that you might be confused about or you just need a little bit of advice on. That's fine. Reach out to me at any time. I'll get back to you. Just looking ahead and looking at the course outline. So today is the 10th. We'll review the elements of personal essay with the example. Next class, September 15th. Review the essay Black Men in Public Space, and then you're going to post comments due via Blackboard discussion. So I'll lecture you on this essay, and then I think it's because it's very topical. We'll talk about that, and you can go online on Blackboard on our Blackboard page for this class, and then give commentary. I'm going to create a journal entry in Blackboard to allow you to partake in a discussion, or at least post your own thoughts. And I'll send you the instructions for that next class. It'll be attached to the email that I send out with the instructions with the lecture for Black Men and Public Space. September 17th. Okay, our first rough draft is due on the 17th. So your personal essay rough drafts, I'm reading right off the course outline, due via Blackboard. So you're going to post to the Blackboard. I'll give you instructions on how to do that. It is a rough draft, so it is a little different than a final draft. So we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have that day, September 17th, to post it. There won't be a lecture, but I'll send out an email sort of breaking down and giving you instructions on how to post it to Blackboard, and then how to go in. I'll instruct you on how to go in and actually give comments in the Blackboard discussion. So this is our workshop. This is the workshop aspect of this class. If we were in a regular class setting, brick and mortar face to face, each person would read their essay aloud. or for those individuals that don't like to read it aloud, they would hand it to me and I'd read it aloud. So, and then we would just go student by student, giving commentary on what's working and what's not. So that's really what the Blackboard workshop comments do via Blackboard discussion is about. But I'll cover that before that's due once more. All right, so up here, the third bullet point, essay expectations for your rough drafts. Uh, for the personal essay, it will be 2 pages minimum. I'd like to see at least 2 pages. That's enough, the minimum that someone can read and be like, okay, I can react to this and say how this is working or how it's not with regard to the elements of personal essay. Um, but the final draft will be 3 to 5 pages, double spaced, Times New Roman, 12-point font, adhering to all MLA formatting style rules. I'm gonna also well, let's just stay on this third bullet point. When you post the essay to Blackboard for me to look at, and for other students to look at, and for other people to give commentary on, you might comment. I would like it to be all MLA by that point for your rough drafts, or at least close, right? Where you got the margins right, you got your titles in the right place, and then you're using the right font. It's not like Wingdings where we can't even read it, something crazy like that, and it's all the spacing is all jacked up. So make sure it's double spaced. So make sure it's readable. And we don't want to do something crazy like 16-point font, and that's how you really were able to make that 2 page minimum. So don't do that either, okay? And then finally, last bullet point, I'm going to send you the example essay is going to be sent, and already has been sent via email, and I posted to Blackboard. Look at that essay. It's an amazing essay. Don't be scared of it because you're like, how can I write an essay with such caliber? But it's fine. That was an exemplary essay and an exceptional essay that this student wrote. So don't necessarily hold yourself uh, to that level. But some of you will put more time into their essay, like this individual did when she wrote this uh, essay about this camping trip and getting stuck on this out in the middle of the water. Right? She didn't write it like that the first time. She would have wrote a rough draft, mauled over it, really corrected all her punctuation and grammar, came back in and said, I want to add some dialogue here, really tighten up her dialogue, right? Put contractions in the dialogue because we always use contractions, otherwise it's a stilted dialogue. She would have went back and said, oh, I don't think this ending's working properly. So you need to think about those things. And it takes time to really make something more perfect, I guess, more complete. Yeah, so email me if you have any questions, and I look forward to talking to you guys next week. All right, talk to you later. Bye.